Hi, and welcome to WoW Flash. This is a weekly series where we look at the news from anything to do with World of Warcraft or Warcraft or anything like that from the last 7 days. So the first thing is a little bit of a personal one, and that I finally left the No Legendary Club this week in rather strange circumstances. You have your daily dose of disappointment, as I call it, every day when you do the emissary quest. I'm there and I'm thinking, this is it. I'm going to get me legendary now. You open up the cache and it's like, oh, an 805 pair of boots. Great, yeah, thanks. And then in the raids, of course, because that's the most difficult content, you're doing mythic bosses or just heroic bosses or whatever, or mythic plus dungeons. You're thinking, oh, I'm going to get me legendary here. And I've been in so many runs where people have got their legendaries. I was thinking, I'm almost, not quite, but almost the last person in the guild to get one here. What's going on? And then we put on, like we did last week, actually, at the end of a raid, it was the Wednesday raid, we decided to just blast through normal on mains, mostly, with a few socials. And then Ursoc, and I got a legendary. And it was a good one, even better, even better. Second best one, in fact. So that's that monkey off my back now.
Lost in the road, alright.
This is a cool.
Oh!
There you go.
That'll do. That'll do.
Fucking
Confirmed. Patting it works.
That's a good one, isn't it?
fucking Thete's reaction though.
That'll do. Second best, not bad. So in terms of more general news, it's more relevant to other people. The Il'gynoth encounter has been changed in rather, I'm almost going to say unique circumstances. I think that's true. There have been times in the past where raid bosses have been released and they've not quite worked properly. Been a bit buggy, so they've sort of fiddled about with them after it's gone live. Sometimes it's been a bit overtuned, and so they've nerfed them after it goes live. And then the people that managed to kill it before the nerf go, did it pre-nerf, you know? And, you know, whatever. This one is the opposite. This one, for most guilds, was sort of okay. And then it's been made more difficult, this reset. So the way it was before is it's clearly a fight. We all knew this. Everyone knew this. It was not intended to be one phased. In other words, what you have to do on the fight, for those that haven't done it in a raid yet, there's a first phase where there's just loads of tentacles and blobs to kill. It's just like, you know, Deathwing again. Tentacles and blobs. Kill tentacles and blobs. Once you've killed enough blobs under the eye, because the blobs explode and hurt the eye, then the eye disappears. And you rush in and there's the heart. Not quite sure why he keeps his heart behind his eye, not a brain. But, you know, well, whatever. I don't understand the anatomy of old god constructs, if that's what this is. And the idea is you do as much DPS as you can to it. There's a limited amount of time, and if you don't get out of there quickly, it all seals itself up, and anyone inside will die. So that's what you're supposed to do. But what some people were doing was they were getting inside and actually managed to destroy the heart in one go. So they didn't have to leave at all. They didn't have to do the second phase, which of course is more difficult because it's actually reasonably intense with all the bloods and blobs and tentacles. And so then maybe you're exhausting your healers just getting there, just knowing full well that once you get inside, you don't really need them again. And then the second phase, you know, you're sort of on your knees and it's much more difficult. And then when you get back in for a second go as well, there's all these little eye stalks doing mind flay and stuff to complicate the matters. So you're making the fight much easier if you can one phase it. So that's what some people were doing. It's what we tried to do because we knew that the fix was coming as well. The fix was announced before the reset. And we were doing it. In Europe, of course, our reset is on Wednesday. So we were there on Tuesday night trying to kill it. Got some very low percentage wipes, including a 1% wipe. It was excruciatingly annoying. And yes, we now know we have to do it the hard way. But we sort of getting there. I think it will die on Sunday, I would think. But they've also announced they're going to tune it again. I think they're going to make it a little bit easier again. So this is a fight that hasn't really gone well, truth be told. If they've got to change it in a pretty major way, twice, even once, is pretty bad. it does make you wonder if sufficient testing was done on it. But yeah, anyway, the rest of the fights don't seem to be tuned that way. But of course, it could be argued that maybe if they had their time again, they would have tuned a few things up. I mean, Xavius is fairly disappointing. The fact that it's taking people longer to kill Cenarius than it is, like more pulls to kill Mythic Cenarius than it is Mythic Xavius, is not necessarily great either. I'm sure they didn't intend that. Why would you intend anything other than the last boss of the instance to be the most difficult boss? But I suppose it's one of those things. They can't change it too much. I mean, the time for changing it really was during BTR testing. BTR? I was trying to say beta or PTR. BTR, that's good. I like that. I'll use that more often. BTR testing. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, this particular boss and maybe a couple of others, they haven't got it quite right. I don't actually know what they intended, though. Did they intend it to be easier than High Maul? Because that's what it is. Don't know. But it could equally be that it's not the fights that's the problem. It's this Titan Forge gear. But that's another issue. I think I've mentioned that before. If not, I'll probably mention it again sometime. I don't want to go too much on that. Now, other little bits. There's the Patron of War achievement and title you may have seen some people get. If you want it yourself, I'm not an achievement hunter myself, so I'm not really bothered. But you get this for basically proving that you've watched the PvP arena contest, whatever's going on. I'll put a link below if you're interested in that. Basically, what you have to do is get a Twitch account, link it up with your Battle.net, watch the championships. I don't know how much of them you have to watch. There's some coming up this weekend as well, watching PvP arenas, basically. And you get this achievement. And I think you get a title with it as well. So if you're interested in that, yeah, link below. So, other news. Mythic Plus dungeons. So, what they're going to do here, at the end of a Mythic Plus dungeon, you get chests, up to 3 chests, depending on how quickly you do it. You might only get 1, but you might get 3. And they might contain some gear. They may even contain a legendary, sometimes. But you also get artifact power into them. That's fairly guaranteed. But what wasn't guaranteed, I wasn't paying a blind bit of attention to this, by the way, was the amount of artifact power you got. They're going to change it now, so the base amount of artifact power you get from these things, so the guaranteed amount, is in line with the difficulty of it. So like Mythic 10 rewarding you the most, and so on. I had no idea that this wasn't the case or anything. I don't know what it was before or what it is now. I don't know whether this has been hotfixed so it's live now, or whether it's going to be live in the next reset or what. Because you don't really pay attention. Usually when we're doing Mythic Pluses, we do a few. I don't really have time to sort of stop. And it fills up my bag, so I usually just use all the artifact power very quickly without really paying attention to how much I'm getting, other than the fact that I know that if I do a session where I'm doing loads of Mythic Plus dungeons, I get a lot of artifact power. It's a lot of artifact power. Got to do them. Got to do them. Got to catch them all. Now, in terms of following on from that, in patch 7.1, there's been a few new announcements. In terms of alt-friendliness, now I've already mentioned, well, Blizzard, of course, have said that Legion is the most alt-friendly expansion. I have already said, load of cobblers, it's the most alt-unfriendly expansion. But they are increasing some of the friendliness. So, think about it at the moment. If you level up an alt, what are your chief pains in the arse tasks to do? The first one, of course, is to get yourself... Well, first of all, as you've leveled, as I am with my characters, I make sure that I do the main quest lines in each zone. That way I am at least friendly with all of the important factions. Then I get to level cap, do Suramar for an hour or so, get friendly with Nightfallen. That allows you to qualify for the world quest. So you've got the world quests open. Then what do you need to do? You need to grind a crap load of Nightfallen rep in order to get and various quest chains in order to do that. And of course another quest chain after that, to get yourself attuned to the dungeons in Suramar City, which is what? Court of Stars and Arcway. I've forgotten the names for a minute there. That's a bit... The second one especially is a massive pain. Massive pain. And for 2 dungeons I don't even like. Spectacular pain. But now... Well, not now. In 7.1 they're going to make it so that as long as you've done all that on one character, it will be sort of account-wide. So in other words, as long as you've unlocked world quests on one character, all your outs, as soon as they get to level cap, They'll still get the quest to go and see Khadgar in Dalaran City, but it's automatic. There's no like reputation requirements as long as it's done on one character on that account. So you'll just get your whistle, you'll get your world quest unlocked, go for it. Same with the dungeons. Again, you'll probably still want to do Suramar to get the lovely artifact power from all those quest lines. You get a lot of artifact power, but in order to access Court of Stars and Archway, as long as the quest line has been done on one character, you won't need to do it on the others. So that's a big improvement. That will certainly help for people that are into doing lots of characters and they want to get those characters into dungeons as well. Now, in terms of 7.1, of course, the big thing that a lot of people are quite excited about is Karazhan, which is the big mega dungeon coming out. Now, there was a really good review done by Fat Boss, which I will also link in the description below. I would definitely check that one out. It looks really interesting. Like when it was first announced as being, because like first of all you think Karazhan is a dungeon, you think okay they've just done what they did with Zul'Gurub and Zul'Aman, and then it didn't sound like that at all from what they were saying. It sounded a lot much. I was getting in my head much more this. It's really a raid for 5 people, because I remember when raiding there was 25-man raiding and then there was 10-man raiding, and then it was stopped and it was all changed to 20-man raiding, which doesn't really suit anyone, but change it back to 25. 25's good. 30's better, but 25. Anyway, a lot of the people who likes the 10-man, now, some of the people, very genuine, there's a lot of arguments for 10-man. Some of them were very genuinely just wanting a small group. They don't like the larger raid sizes. They want a nice, cozy, frenzy type group to do the hard content on. Fair enough. Doesn't work with Mythic. We've gotten into that thing. You cannot have variable numbers with Mythic and make it good. But I thought one of the good things about Legion was Mythic Plus allows you in a small group of friends to do very challenging content regularly without it being raid, without having to work. You'd be in a larger group where you might sort of get lost in the crowd. Karazhan looks like a continuation of that. It sounded very much like it to me, and I thought to myself, this sounds like a raid for 5 people. And that's what it looks like. Looking at the Fat Boss review, that's definitely what it looks like. The bosses look much more complicated than typical dungeon bosses, even on difficult modes. They very much look like they have raid mechanics, but for 5 people. It's certainly more involved. It does not at all look like the sort of dungeon that you would jump in on in a random pug. It is, if I see a trade or group finder or anything, someone trying to organise a random pug for Karazhan when 7.1 comes out, I'm going to be straight away thinking, I would not like to be a fly on the wall watching that group get through, because they won't. It's the sort of thing where it looks to me like you're going to need voice comms, probably. Almost certainly, quite frankly, you're going to need to be able to talk to each other. So that straight away brings into mind a coordinated group of people that know each other in the same guild or just friends in real life, voice comms. There's a lot of coordination needed, a lot of preparation as well. It does not, the mechanics, a lot of the mechanics do not look like the sort of things where you can just YOLO it or outgear it even. I think some of those mechanics, I don't think even gear is going to help you if you're not doing them right. So there's a certain amount of preparation required, certain amount of coordination required, the sort of thing that's not going to be good for pugs until maybe when you stupidly outgear it and people know the mechanics as well. Maybe you could pug it then. Doesn't sound like the sort of thing that'll be easily pugged to begin with. So that's interesting. I'm not quite sure how that'll play out. But as I say, those people who did use the argument, I want a nice cozy group with my friends, but I want to do difficult content, Karazhan sounds ideal to me. It's on a weekly lockout. Do it once a week. So again, all very raidy. And that's pretty much the news for this week. So hope you found it interesting. If you did, as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share. And until next time, I'll see you later.